I have yet another bill to talk about. I feel like this year has been mostly BL, and I'm not mad. I hope you're not mad either. But yeah, Thundercloud Rainstorm, that is a BL I've been watching so far. It has 8 episodes. I've watched 5 of the 8 that I've aired. I feel like this drama has flown under the radar in terms of I really don't hear anyone talking about it. So I am gonna talk about it because it's a lot of things. Toxic being the main thing. Because oh my god, actually, this is like one of the most toxic dramas I have watched in this year. And I've watched a lot of toxic dramas, but I think that the male lead in this, Jong-an, speaks in such a despicable way that it makes him one of the worst characters I've watched this year. So yeah, I had to talk about it. But anyways, Thudercloud Rainstorm basically follows Iljo, who is the illegitimate son or just like adopted son of this person that is Jong-an's uncle, right? This uncle dies and Iljo is kind of kicked out of his family home that he lived in with his adopted dad, and now he has nowhere to go. This is where Jong-un comes in. Jong-un kind of like, no, I don't want to say pities him and then brings him in, but something of the sort, right? So they start living together. So that makes them basically cousins, right? They're cousins that live together, or like adopted cousins, kind of, right? Jong-un being from the actual family and Iljo being the one that's adopted in. The issue is that Iljo is not well liked by the family, especially by the uncle's actual son, right? So his brother, because I think his brother sees him as kind of like a leech and someone that's gonna like take away like part of his inheritance and his house and stuff like that, that would normally go to him. So I think that there is that element of him, that is Iljo, being kind of a black sheep and an outcast and an outsider in this family. So yeah, that's basically what the setup is. I think going into this drama, there are a few things that make it very interesting. Obviously the tone of this drama is very like mellow. And I think part of that mellow like vibe that it has is because of Iljo. And it's not necessarily because Iljo is like a mellow character, but he is kind of someone that seems resigned to his fate. He seems like he just like lets things happen to him. He's not very assertive. He's kind of passive, especially in his relationship to Jong-un, right? Like Jong-un is actually the one that is, despite like Jong-un not like wanting to, he is the one that kind of like approaches Iljo more. Right, Iljo is just kind of open to it, and I mean Iljo, I will say that his character is the most interesting to me in this, because I think that he is very sure of who he is. He knows he's gay. He knows he likes Jong-un, and he's very clear on those things. And he lets Jong-un know that very quickly, right? Like he has feelings for Jong-un. He wants to be with Jong-un. He wants to sleep with Jong-un. He wants to do all these things with Jong-un, right? And he's very clear about that. For Jong-un, right, he starts off kind of like in an interesting curious state about Iljo, which I find actually makes no sense given that in like the later episodes they mentioned that they've actually known each other since they were kids. And so the first scene that we see where Iljo is being comforted by his brother and Jong-un is just watching, it seems to us that like Jong-un actually doesn't know this person. Like he is curious about Iljo, and seeing how Iljo is just kind of bowing and being submissive to Sojong-in, who is his brother, right? And so a lot of why he does what he does is because he was curious about Iljo. But as we find out, actually, like they know each other, they've known each other for years, and they've had some tension since then, right? So actually, it's very interesting how the first few episodes frame it, and then we get that like episode where you see them in their hometown and you can see that like Iljo and Jong-un go way back. So it's very interesting. But anyway, back to it. Iljo is very interesting, I think, to me because he is someone that is sure about his identity despite seemingly like passive. Like despite being a submissive person, despite letting things happen to him, he is still obviously very clear about who he is. For example, he is sure about his sexuality, right? Like this is not something that is something he has a conflict about, right? As opposed to Jong-un, I think, who has that like, I don't want to say conflict, but a little like aversion to the fact that he is like into Iljo, right? Iljo doesn't have this. Iljo, like from the very beginning, it's very obvious that Iljo is gay, and everybody seems to know he's gay. Even like his brother knows he's gay, right? And that comes up as to reasons why he also doesn't like Iljo, right? But yeah, like I just find Iljo to be interesting because like the way he lets Jongan just do anything with him is just like interesting, but also despite like Iljo being the one to like confess his feelings and like mention all these things to Jongan about how he wants them to be together, I do feel that actually Iljo is someone that um has more resolve to like cut people off, right? Like I feel like he actually has more in him to like leave someone and just like be done with them, right? I think he actually doesn't have that like regretful like feeling in him the way I think if like they break up, Jongan would be worse off. I think that Iljo knows how to end it and never have like regrets about it. And so you see moments where despite Iljo seemingly being the one to like push for a relationship, it's actually Jongan that like suffers a lot of the emotional like turmoil about like this relationship and what they have and all that, right? So it's interesting. Like Iljo is a very interesting character to me because he also I think just a sad character because like he just like recognizes that he kind of has no real home, right? And he's so grateful to the person that raised him that he's willing to take anything from his brother, right? And I think that there's something sad about that. There's something kind of, and honestly that's kind of why I don't like Jung Han, because he kind of perpetrates that just because of how he talks to Iljo, right? I mean, Iljo never really shows it because every single like insult, and honestly Jonghan makes a lot of insults, like he's very disparaging and things like that to Iljo, but honestly despite all that Iljo never seems like hurt by them. Like it just kind of rolls off him. He actually like absorbs stream but like goes out, because I think that for Iljo it's almost like he believes those things are true anyways, so it's not like a hurtful comment that Jonghan has made, right? And that's so sad because like in that way, right, Iljo is somebody that kind of craves that connection and craves that like bond with someone, right? And a lot of that is because he doesn't have that, right, as somebody that's adopted. And I really feel bad for him, right? Especially when you see how his like brother also treats him and his brother talks about him in a very like perverse way. That like he never really had anything, and so his father, right, ends up being that person that he just is so grateful towards, that he's willing to take anything from his family members, including his brother and Jonghan. And yeah, that's just something I noticed about Iljo. So his character is just very interesting to me because of that, right? Like I feel sad for him, but he actually never displays moments that like makes you feel sad. Like you want to cry for him, but he never cries, right? So he's very interesting in that sense. Jonghan on the other hand is a little wishy-washy, I think, to me. And that might just be how he appears to me, right? But I mean, he goes from being curious about Iljo to getting into a relationship with Iljo, right? So like just being horny and wanting Iljo, to pushing back when Iljo actually tells him, okay, let's be together, to doing another like 180, to expecting Iljo to be with him and they can be lovers and boyfriends now. And it's just like it's whiplash for me. And his character is not easy enough. Like he went from insulting Iljo to like being in love with him in the span of like one episode, and like saying let's be together and all that stuff in span of one episode. And he never really apologizes for all the things he said either, so he's just like it's difficult for me to like him as a character because he hasn't shown me much, right? He hasn't shown me really that he even understands Iljo. But I mean, as we see more episodes, we see how he starts to react to Iljo when he knows that, for example, he's like cousin abuses Iljo and beats him up, even though he's seen that before. So I don't know. I guess because he's in love with him now, maybe it's different. But yeah, he's beginning to show more and more like protective feelings for Iljo, right? So it'll be interesting to see how much he can grow and how much he can come to protect Iljo, because I think that that's what Iljo needs. He needs that person as his person, kind of the way his dad was, right? And so it'll be interesting to see if Jongan becomes that, or if they're just gonna like like butcher his character till the end. Now moving on to their chemistry, I think this is the part that actually like stands out in this, that like there's a plot and then there's what these two have that is not plot, right? And it's honestly really spicy. It's well done. And I have to say, a lot of people will not know this, but the actor that plays Iljo is a former idol, right, from 101, right? And it's just funny to see him in this because it's a very interesting trajectory in your like career, especially for like somebody in like Korea, because I know Korea is very conservative. Although I will say that I know that like a lot of the biggest stars, right, a lot of the biggest actors in Korea have done like a gay romance or a gay story or gay movie once in their lifetime. So actually, maybe it's on track, a rite of passage almost. But yeah, it's just funny to see him in this, knowing where it comes from, because those things never really overlap, right? But yeah, I think that the chemistry in this is just sizzling. Like that's the one thing that this show does really well, right? There's just something extremely like captivating about the relationship between these two when it comes to like physical, like their physical relationship. They have it going on, right? And it's just very well done in that sense. So yeah, like their kiss scenes, their like sex scenes, everything is just so good, right? And that's honestly just a reason to watch this, because honestly Jonghan will piss you off otherwise, and you feel like Iljo is just passive and never really stands up for himself. But you know, I understand Iljo a lot. I don't really understand Jonghan, but I understand Iljo. So yeah, I think that the chemistry makes up for all of that part, right? The fact that they are basically cousins, and I've known their cousins kind of growing up, is kind of weird, because like yeah, for sure, like Iljo is adopted, but like even your adopted cousin is still your cousin. So that's one part that like is kind of like weird, but honestly it adds to like the taboo, you know, forbidden thing that they have going on. So it works, like it works. But yeah, like overall this drama is just so good, and I've really enjoyed it so far. No notes, honestly, no notes. So yeah, that's really all I have in this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your week. Bye.